Hey guys, Lord Naren White here, the Holy Ghost of the one true God, back with you with the next video in my series reading The Adventures of Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain. Without further ado, returning to The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, as read by Lord Naren White. Yes, bean's good, I've done that. Have you? What's your way? You take and split the bean, and cut the wart as to get some blood. And then you put the blood on one piece of the bean, and take and dig a hole and bury it, about midnight at the crossroads in the dark of the moon, and then you burn up the rest of the bean. You see, that piece that's got the blood on it will keep drawing and drawing, trying to fetch the other piece to it. And so that helps the blood to draw the wart, and pretty soon off she comes. Yes, that's it, Huck, that's it. Though when you're burying it, if you say, down bean, off wart, come no more to bother me, it's better. That's the way Joe Harper does, and he's been nearly to Coonville and most everywheres. But say, how do you cure 'em with dead cats? Why, you take your cat and go get in the graveyard long about midnight, when somebody that was wicked has been buried, and when it's a devil, and when it's midnight a devil will come, or maybe two or three, but you can't see him, you can only hear something like the wind, or maybe hear him talk, and when they're taking that feller away, you heave your cat after him and say, devil follow corpse, cat follow devil, warts follow cat, I'm done with ye, that'll fetch any wart. Sounds right. Did you ever try it, Huck? No, but old Mother Hopkins told me. Well, I reckon it's so, then, because they say she's a witch. Say? Why, Tom, I know she is. She's witched Pap. Pap says so on his own self. He come along one day, and he sees she was a witching him. So he took up a rock, and if she hadn't dodged, he'd have got her. Well, that very night he rolled off in shed where he was laying drunk and broke his arm. Why, that's awful. How did he know she was a witching him? Lord, Pap can tell, easy. Pap says when they keep looking at you right steady, they're a witching you, especially if they mumble, because when they mumble, they're saying the Lord's Prayer backwards. Say, Hucky, when you going to try the cat? Tonight? I reckon they'll come after old Hoss Williams tonight. But they buried him Saturday. Didn't they get him Saturday night? Why, how you talk. How could their charms work till midnight? And then it's Sunday. Devils don't slosh around much of a Sunday, I don't reckon. I never thought of that. That's so, let me go with you. Of course, if you ain't afeard. Afeard? 'Tain't likely. Will you meow? Yes, and you meow back if you get a chance. Last time, you kept me a-meowing around till old Hayes went to throwing rocks at me and says, "Darn the cat." And so I hove a brick through his window, but don't you tell me. I said, don't you tell. I won't. I couldn't say meow that night, because Auntie was watching me, but I'll meow this time. Say, what's that? Nothing but a tick. Where'd you get him? Out in the woods. What'll you take for him? I don't know. I don't want to sell him. All right. It's a mighty small tick anyway. Oh, anybody can run a tick down that don't belong to them. I'm satisfied with it. It's a good enough tick for me. Sho, there's ticks aplenty. I could have 1,000 of 'em if I wanted to. Well, why don't you? Because you know mighty well you can't. This is a pretty early tick, I reckon. It's the first one I've seen this year. Say, Huck, I'll give you my tooth for him. Let's see it. Tom got a bit of paper and carefully unrolled it. Huckleberry viewed it wistfully. The temptation was very strong. At last he said, "Is it genuine?" Tom lifted his lip and showed the vacancy. "Well, all right," said Huckleberry. "It's a trade." Tom enclosed the tick in the percussion cap box that had lately been the pinch bug's prison, and the boys separated, each feeling wealthier than before. When Tom reached the little isolated frame schoolhouse, he strode briskly with the manner of one who had come with all honest speed. He hung his hat on a peg and flung himself into his seat with business-like alacrity. The master, throned on high in his great splint-bottom armchair, was dozing, lulled by the drowsy hum of study. The interruption roused him. Thomas Sawyer? Tom knew that when his name was pronounced in full, it meant trouble. Sir, come up here. Now, sir, why are you late again as usual? Tom was about to take refuge in a lie when he saw two long tails of yellow hair hanging down a back that he only recognized by the electric sympathy of love, and by that form was the only vacant place on the girl's side of the schoolhouse. He instantly said, I stopped to talk with Huckleberry Finn. The master's pulse stood still, and he stared helplessly. The buzz of study ceased. The pupils wondered if this foolhardy boy had lost his mind. The master said, You did what? Stop to talk with Huckleberry Finn. There was no mistaking the words. Thomas Sawyer, this is the most astounding confession I have ever listened to. No mere ferule will answer for this offense. Take off your jacket. The master's arm performed until it was tired, and the stock of switches notably diminished. Then the order followed. Now, sir, go and sit with the girls, and let this be a warning to you. The titter that rippled around the room appeared to abash the boy, but in reality that result was caused more by his wonderful awe of his unknown idol and the dread pleasure that lay in his high good fortune. He sat down upon the end of the pine bench and hitched herself away from him with a toss of her head. Nudges and winks and whispers traversed the room, but Tom sat still, with his arms upon the long, low desk before him, and seemed to study his book. By and by, attention ceased from him, and the accustomed school murmur rose upon the dull air once more. Presently, the boy began to steal furtive glances at the girl. She observed it, made a mouth at him, and gave him back the back of her head for the space of a minute. When she cautiously faced around again, a peach lay before her. She thrust it away. Tom gently put it back. She thrust it away again, but with less animosity. Tom patiently returned it to its place. Then she let it remain. Tom scrawled on his slate, Please take it, I got more. The girl glanced at the words, but made no sign. Now the boy began to draw something on the slate, hiding his work with his left hand. For a time the girl refused to notice, but her human curiosity presently began to manifest itself by hardly perceptible signs. The boy worked on, apparently unconscious. The girl made a sort of non-committal attempt to see, but the boy did not betray that he was aware of it. At last she gave in and hesitatingly whispered, Let me see it. Tom partly uncovered a dismal caricature of a house with two gable ends to it and a corkscrew of smoke issuing from the chimney. Then the girl's interest began to fasten itself upon the work, and she forgot everything else. When it was finished, she gazed a moment, then whispered, It's nice. Make a man. The artist erected a man in the front yard that resembled a derrick. He could have stepped over the house, but the girl was not hypercritical. She was satisfied with the monster and whispered, It's a beautiful man. Now make me coming along. Tom drew an hourglass with a full moon and straw limbs to it, and armed the spreading fingers with a portentous fan. The girl said, It's ever so nice. I wish I could draw. It's easy, whispered Tom. I'll learn you. Oh, will you? When? At noon. Do you go home to dinner? I'll stay if you will. Good, that's a whack. What's your name? Becky Thatcher. What's yours? Oh, I know, it's Thomas Sawyer. That's the name they lick me by. I'm Tom when I'm good. You call me Tom, will you? Yes. Now Tom began to scrawl something on the slate, hiding the words from the girl. But she was not backward this time. She begged to see. Tom said, Oh, it ain't anything. Yes, it is. No, it ain't. You don't want to see. Yes, I do. Indeed, I do. Please let me see. You'll tell. No, I won't. Deed, indeed, and double deed won't. You won't tell anybody at all, ever, as long as you live? No, I won't ever tell anybody. Now let me. Oh, you don't want to see. We'll go ahead and stop there for this week. As usual, I want to say thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Please like, comment, and subscribe, as it greatly helps the channel. Light be with you all. Take care, and thanks again.